So the full moon is around the corner. It's in a little less than a week. And also Stratanya is around the corner. They actually almost coincide with one another. I think it's like a day difference. Well, actually, this is an important conversation. It depends on how you count time. So if you were to break the solar year, meaning from winter solstice to the next winter solstice, that's what I call a solar year. If you were to break the solar year into kind of like even parts, then there would be what we would call 8 nodes. Those 8 nodes, from the Slavic perspective, fall within 2 seasons, the season of light and the season of dark. And so if you think of the solstices and the equinoxes as 4 of those nodes, then you would imagine, if you were going to put them in a symbolic form, that you would make a solar cross. So a solar cross looks like a plus sign, equal lengthed arms. And if you were to look at the nodes that are halfway between the solstices and the equinoxes, then you would call one of those nodes, well, we would first have to make an X sign, and one of the nodes would be midwinter, then you would think about mid-spring, midsummer, mid-autumn. Depending on whose research I've read, some people relate to the solar cross, the equinoxes and the solstices, as being energy related to the divine masculine, if you want to call it that, or masculine form, and the other, the X, being related to the feminine. I've also read from some authors that they're both considered of the masculine. I don't like to use the words masculine and feminine. I actually prefer to think of sun and moon or the teachings related to the energies of the relationship between the cosmic and the earth, and then the underworld. So the upper realm, middle realm, and lower realm. And then the liminal spaces, the times and spaces in between. And I also think, in terms of cyclical thinking, that I put a lot of the teachings related to lunations within the Earth Cross. And I think in terms of the celebrations related to the cycles of the sun, where it reaches peak and where it reaches its least amount of strength, and then the times in between, less related to the moon, because the moon is not being considered when you think about equinoxes and solstices. So all of that to say, midwinter, if you were to measure midwinter according to the sun and the solar cycle, then it's just around the corner. In fact, it's usually about 1.5 lunations since the solstice. Now, having said that, though, if you were to think of midwinter by the word Stratanya, which is about a meeting place, and it's the meeting of the energies of spring and the energies of winter. It's like the first breath of spring. When the first time that the spirit of spring encounters the spirit of winter, or I should say it the other way around, the spirit of winter encounters the spirit of spring. And that is totally dependent on where you're living. It totally depends on the land that you're in, and that's an important consideration. So technically speaking, unless we get a little bit of a warm wave next week, I wouldn't think of midwinter here where I am being next week. The only actual indication I have that spring is around the corner is the fact that the light during the day is getting longer. Other than that, the temperatures are really cold, and there's still a lot of snow on the ground, and there will be for quite some time. So, is it midwinter? Depends on which calendar I'm using. Am I looking at it from the perspective of the solar calendar? Am I looking at it from the perspective of the lunar calendar? Am I looking at it from the perspective of the seasons and the energies that shift with those seasons? That tells us a little bit of something about worldview. What worldview do you take when you are looking at the cycles and movements of time? Do you stay with the square Gregorian calendar? Do you think in another calendar system? Do you think in terms of a week by the shape of squares that you see on your day planner? Do you think of time in cycles and seasons? Begin to reframe your way of relating to time and see what else shifts inside of you.